What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on in NFL world? How you doing, Division Rivals? This is Stephen Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. All right, guys, the nightly news here tonight, guys. I want to talk a little bit about Derek Barnett, right? We're going into salary cap stuff. You guys know I've really went over the salary cap stuff with a fine-tooth comb over the past, 2 months for you guys. But I want to provide a little more insight. I want to talk about some of the ways in which Derek Barnett's contract, if they decide to do that. They can trade him, get the draft picks back, save the full $10 million. They can cut him, save the full $10 million. All those are in play. But given the nature of the fact that we need young pass rushers, he still is a young pass rusher. I'm going to guess they're going to try to work out the contract first before they do that, guys. But I think all things are on the table. I think that you can look at it and say that they may cut him, they may trade him, they may extend him. I think all three of those things are most certainly on the table. So as it stands right now, what does this contract look like, guys? We've went over this a million times, but I'll do it $1 million in one time for you guys. His base salary is all tied up in a $10,051,000 contract. It's all in the base. None of it is guaranteed. There's no bonus money. There's no option money. None of that. There's no dead money. It's a pure cap savings at this point. Since he is a young pass rusher, I don't think it's beyond the Eagles to look to do what they do with contracts. The Eagles love to do this 3 to 5 year contract extension. When they do a 3-year extension, it's really only 2 years they're giving you, and that third year is kind of a dead year, dummy year, or an out year. When they do the 5 years, it's only 3 years they're really giving you, sometimes 2, with the third being an out year. Sometimes it's 3 years that are kind of guaranteed, and to an extent, then you have 2 just kind of dead years that are just dummy years that they divide up the prorated money on. That's pretty much how they structure this. So if you were sitting here and you're looking for guidance for where do you start? It's really tough because you're talking about a pass rusher that has tremendous talent. I don't think any of us are denying that Derek Barnett, when he's healthy and he's in the game, he's pretty good. He just hasn't been healthy. And as good as he's been, he just hasn't felt like a very good fit for, Jim Schwartz's system. I mean, we definitely saw glimpses of his talent, but it never was consistent. He never was as impactful as we thought he was going to be, but nonetheless, it's always been under the surface there with him. So that makes his contract difficult to figure out, right? Because the guiding light you could go to would be to say, well, let's look at what Brandon Graham got and just schedule that in the same look. That was an older, aging player. Now you got a younger guy come up on his second contract. I mean, maybe it's feasible to think with the increases going on with the NFL and stuff like that, that it would make a ton of sense for a guy going into a second contract to get pretty close to what a guy going into his third contract got. Potentially. I mean, it's really hard to say that kind of stuff, guys. It just depends on what the organization thinks. I tend to want to look at it this way. I look at the actual, tables. I look at the contract tables and I like to see where players rank and where the young guys ahead of them are, and then try to figure out what they might do with the salary. That's how I personally like to do it. It doesn't mean it's correct. It's just an easy way for me to show you something and make rational sense. Even if it's wrong, you can see exactly why I'm saying what I'm saying. So, William Golston, right? He's got the 27th highest contract among defensive ends. He's scheduled to make $5.5 million against the season. And then you got Brandon Dunn, who's the 28th ranked guy. He's scheduled to make $4 million, right? Last year, I think the dead money, if I'm not mistaken, when it came to Derek Barnett, was $4,088,000. He's kind of right there with Golston and Dunn. I would assume that they're going to try to keep Barnett around that number this year, which would be a $6 million or so dollar, 5, 6, 4.5 to $6 million, let's say, cap savings. That makes a lot of sense to me. So if you started that with your bases, let's just say 4,500 for the sake of argument, making it easier, you would have to figure out the length of years you want in your contract extension. So I'm going to guess because Brandon Graham's 25-ish, somewhere in that area, 25, 26-ish, you're looking at probably about a 4-year extension is what I would guess. Maybe 3 years, but I'm going to say 4-year extension. And then from there, guys, you just have to do the number on the math of the guys around him, right? So William Golston back in 2017 got a 5-year deal for $27 million, 13.5 worth of guarantees. That was a couple of years ago now, guys. It's going to be higher than that. We looked last year. Shaq Lawson got a 3-year deal, $30 million, with a $4 million signing bonus and $20.8 million in guarantees. You go back and you look at a Brandon Graham deal, which Brandon Graham, of course, is a more established pass rusher, but he got that $40 million deal over the extension he got with 12.5 in a signing bonus and 3.5 in an option, right? 27 of his was guaranteed. I would take a wild guess if we start off and we started with the numbers we had, which was $4.5 million, right? You're going to look at an increment of 20% in terms of your pay raises on average normally. So I'm going to take a wild guess you would go from 2021 having about a $4.5 million contract on your hands to 2022 having a $5.4 million contract on your hands to 23 having something around the value of like a $6.48 million contract on your hands to 2024 having a $7.776 million contract, and in 2025 having a $9.328 million contract. I would take a wild guess that the 2023 year will have a built-in option to get out of the contract. That'd be my guess, guys, to be quite honest with you. When you work that all out, basically what that would be is a 4-year extension for $33,484,000. It's pretty easy kind of really to figure out your guaranteed money in these contracts. They're pretty standard. So if you look at something like, go back and you look at like Shaq Lawson's and look at like Derek or Brandon Graham's contracts, they got 67.5% of their contract in guarantees. So if you take $33.484 million, which is the estimate I'm giving here, and then you gave a 67.5% of that being guaranteed, that would mean that he's going to sign a $33.484 million contract somewhere in that area, guys. I can't be exact. I don't know. I don't work in the front office, but something in that area with about $27.6 million in guarantees. I'm going to take a wild guess just knowing the way that some of these signing bonuses, you got Brandon Graham got a $12.5 million contract or signing bonus on his. You got $4 million for a 3-year deal on Shaq Lawson's. I'm going to take a wild guess that Derek Barnett's going to come in at around $8 million, $6 to $8 million, I'd say, is what it's going to cost you for a 4-year extension on him. So the way I would do it is I would take that $8 million, I would prorate that over the 4 years, and I would make my numbers line up to the $4.5 million, the $5.4 million, because I'm talking about the cap figures, 5.4 or 4.5 against the cap, 5.4 against the cap, right? And then my final guess here, guys, is that they would make this very much incentive-laden, meaning a lot of incentives, right? So I would say it'd be something like escalators in the contract. Like if he gets, they went over this, I think Inside the Birds did. Like say he gets like 12 sacks or 10 sacks, or he goes to the Pro Bowl, or the Eagles win the Super Bowl, or something like that, right? Like you get these escalators in your contract that would kick the value of your contract up. I think they would do something like that. That's going to give them, if you go down to $4.5 million a season, and I can't guarantee they're going to do that, guys. It might be much higher than that, but that's going to save you about, $5.5 million in cap space. So you still get a young pass rusher. You're not as up against the wall with it. You got a potential out following next year. Like, to me, this kind of deal makes a lot of sense, guys. I can't make any kind of declared statements that this is exactly what's going to happen because I don't know, guys. I'm taking shots against. I'm throwing darts against the dartboard here, guys. Seeing if anything sticks. I will be interested to see how close I am, though, because I feel like these contracts they're not really hard to distinguish once you see the general flow of them, right? The hardest thing is to figure out the length of years because that can skew things, right? If you think it's a 3-year contract, then it's going to come under the numbers I'm saying. If he gets a 5-year extension, it's going to come way over what I just said, right? I'm in that sweet spot of saying, okay, you put him under contract for 5 years by giving him a 4-year extension and reworking the numbers in this year. Like, to me, that makes a lot of sense, right? You give him a 4-year extension, it keeps him under contract until 2025. In theory, you prorate that signing bonus over the 5 years, and then you call it a day. That's what I'm going to take a wild guess at, guys. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Like I said, I think Derek Barnett is going to be one of the next dominoes to fall. Past Derek Barnett, I think you could see something happen with Malik Jackson. If it's not Derek Barnett, I would look to Malik Jackson being a guy that potentially officially gets cut. We already know that's coming, but he might officially get cut. Zach Ertz, guys, I know they want a trading partner. I think that decision is going to come pretty quickly. Yeah, some of these things, they're coming around the corner, guys. I'm going to keep breaking down contracts for you guys, so we'll keep doing this. I'll keep going over guys like Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks. I'll go over to J.C. Kelsey, retirement situation. I'll cover all that stuff, guys. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all tuning in, and I'll see y'all in the next video. I'm sleepy. I'm tired. I'm ready to get out of here, guys. So without too much further to say to you guys, I guess I'll see you on the next video, y'all. All right, y'all. Peace. See y'all later.